The NASCAR Xfinity Series only has 2 races left. And, well, it's an elimination race at Martinsville, and then it's the championship race at Homestead. Well, 2 of those spots are locked up. Last week, we saw AJ Allmendinger win at Las Vegas, and he was able to lock himself into the championship for, well, it was a Chevy teammate. It was RCR's Austin Hill today getting the win, going to victory lane at Homestead-Miami Speedway and advancing to the championship 4. I guess this is our first non-full SVG Xfinity video, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. I'm going to tell you about the racetrack itself, tell you about the race, tell you about the playoff situation, then we'll move on to SVG's day since he is out of the playoffs. Homestead-Miami Speedway is a 1.5-mile racetrack in Homestead, Florida, just outside of Miami. Yes, that is the same Miami, the big Miami. 1.5 miles is equivalent to 2.4 kilometers. It is a true oval racetrack. It's not a quad oval like Texas. It's not a tri-oval like Las Vegas last week. It's not a D-shaped oval like Michigan. It is a true oval. This track used to host the championship race in NASCAR from about 2000 to 2019. And then it got moved over to Phoenix, where we'll be in a couple of weeks, obviously. The banking in the turns is between 18 to 20 degrees. It's something that's unique about this track, or something that makes this track more raceable, is that you can run all over the place. You can run right down on the white line at the bottom. You can run right up on the fence, inches from the fence, or centimeters from the fence. You can run in the middle. You can run high middle, low middle, middle, and you can make speed. You can make it work. And the tires wear out. Very similar to like what we see at Darlington, Richmond. These tires do get eaten at this racetrack. So that was a factor in this race today. We saw Austin Hill and Cole Custer really dominate today. They led the most laps. I mean, Hill led 82, Custer led 67. They led 149 of the 200 laps. They finished first and second. These 2 were the class of the field. Now, Austin Hill, when you think of him, he has so many super speedway wins. He's won 3-4 Atlanta races. He's won 3 or 4 Daytona races. I don't think he's won at Talladega yet, but he's always been known for his super speedway racing. Not necessarily his 1.5 miles, his short track racing, the traditional NASCAR tracks. But this was one of his best performances, in my opinion. As I said, he led the most laps today. I think he swept the stages, if I remember correctly. He did everything right today. He dominated this race. He managed his tires. He led the most. He did everything right today. And look where they are now. They're in the championship 4, and they're going to fight for a championship at Phoenix in a couple weeks. Last year, fell just short of making that championship 4 in controversial fashion, I will say. And, well, now they bounce back, and they're not going to have to worry about Martinsville next week because they won today at Homestead, and they are able to go to the Final 4 and fight for a championship. So Austin Hill dominated, but what about any playoff drama? Not really. Sammy Smith entered this race like minus 53, and he had problems early, but he was already in a must-win, so that really just kind of, double locked him in the must-win situation. So good on you, Sammy Smith, I guess, or whatever you want to say. Outside of that, no wrecks, no big incidents with playoff guys. Pretty tame race. Good racing, though. The tire fall-off made it exciting. And here's your playoff bubble. Here you go. Austin Hill and AJ Allmendinger are in. Justin Allgaier's plus 35. Cole Custer's plus 28. So if we don't get a new winner, those 2 are very confident. Chandler Smith, Jesse Love, Sam Mayer, and Sammy Smith, I would say they are all in must-win. Pretty straightforward. 28 points that's asking a lot. And then everyone else, it's even more. So, and mathematically, I can say for a fact, Sammy Smith is in a must-win situation. So, that's your playoff bubble. If there is a new winner, it's only 7 points between Custer and Allgaier, which could make things exciting, but we'll see in 1 week's time at Martinsville. As for Shane Van Gisbergen, it's his first ever trip to this 1.5 mile track. Said he had a lot of fun over the radio in practice. It's a driver's racetrack. We always see guys like Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, Christopher Bell running really well at this track, running right on the wall. It's so exciting, so thrilling. It's a driver's racetrack. So Shane Van Gisbergen, obviously with his driving capabilities, loving this racetrack. It's not similar to Darlington. Darlington is its own animal, but it's kind of the same thing where you really got to drive the car to make speed, if you kind of understand what I'm saying. SVG qualified 25th, but they made an unapproved adjustment prior to the race, and they had to start at the back of the field. And stage one, only 45 laps. As I say all the time at new racetracks, SVG usually goes backwards, but when you're at the back of the field, you can't really go backwards anymore. So anyways, he was actually able to make up a good amount of time in the first 45 laps. He was able to go from last to 20th. Pretty good. Well above his starting position at 25th, 5 whole spots. And obviously he started 38th versus 25th. So SVG was able to make up a good amount of spots, and really, he just kind of sat 15th to 20th. Like, he never made an aggressive late charge in stage 3 like he usually does. He didn't fall back outside of the top 20 except for like a handful of laps at the beginning of stage 3. Like, he really just sat 14th to 20th the majority of the day. Not much more needs to be said. Though he ended up finishing 17th, and the reason why, he was running 14th when the pit cycle began, and at this point, they're not fighting for the championship, they're not fighting for points, they're trying to finish as high as possible, even if that means taking a few risks in terms of strategy. They took a risk. They essentially bet on a caution, hoping that a caution would fall, staying out long, kind of like what happened at Kansas. Remember, they stayed out long at Kansas, got the track position, got the tires. They were able to finish in the top 10. They were banking on that again. It did not pan out this time, but oh my. Shane Van Gisbergen stretched the fuel at least 70 laps. The fuel window is like under 65 laps, I want to say. So he really stretched it. And with the tire fall off, that helps because you're on the throttle less, you're going slower, you're not burning up as much fuel. But still, everyone else, about 8 guys were on the strategy. Brandon Jones, AJ Allmendinger, Shane Van Gisbergen, one of the Sieg brothers. Like, there were 7 or 8 guys on the strategy, but Shane Van Gisbergen technically didn't work out. They were -3 in terms of a net gain or a net loss. But hey, they ended up not having to pit because by the time that they realized, I think, that a caution's not going to come out, I think they realized, let's try to make it on fuel or else we're going to finish like 25th after we pit, and the tires that we have are not going to make a difference. Like AJ Allmendinger, he pitted with like 25 to go, fell back to like 17th or 18th, and he was able to make his way back up to 10th because tires mean that much. But he had 20 laps. Like SVG would have had 5, 6, and that'll make you up a couple spots, but nothing crazy. So ultimately, at the end of the day, Shane Van Gisbergen 17th. Not too exciting of a day, but 17th. Not too much to it. But next week, the cutoff race at Martinsville should be a fun one. Always an exciting one in the Xfinity Series. Let me tell you. Drama, fights, team controversy, teammates announcing their current teammates' future destination. Martinsville, you got to tune in next week. Tune in tomorrow for the Cup race. The Cup race at Homestead, always an exciting one. Great racetrack. Tyler Reddick on the pole. He's in a deficit points-wise, so he kind of needs to win. But, yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See you tomorrow for the Cup race and maybe a Mexico City, Mexican Grand Prix, whatever they call it now, recap, if we got time for it.